The forest has a way of swallowing secrets. It holds them in the silence of its trees, in the thick underbrush that obscures footprints, and in the whispering winds that carries the last echoes of a life lost. I'm a detective, and for years I've hunted the truth in the darkest corners of human nature. Some cases end in triumph, others in tragedy. It left an imprint on my soul. This is the story of Vanessa Ceja-Ramirez, a young woman full of life, stolen away by the shadows of Midlothian Meadows. November 2nd, 2020, the air smelled of damp earth and fallen leaves. Vanessa and her mother, along with a family friend, had gone for a walk through Midlothian Meadows. It was the little escape, a place where the stress of life melted away beneath towering oaks and the quiet hums of nature. But that day, something felt different. Vanessa's mother, Rosa, later told me she had an uneasy feeling. Call it intuition, mother's instinct, or just a whisper from fate. Whatever it was, she couldn't shake it. Vanessa walked ahead, promising to meet them back at the car. She was just steps away, yet in the blink of an eye, she was gone. Minutes passed, then 20, then an hour. Panic crept in like a slow-moving storm. Rosa's voice cracked as she called Vanessa's name. Again and again. No answer. The trees stood indifferent, towering like silent sentinels, offering no clues, no direction. Just stillness. The search began as daylight started to fade. Flashlights flickered against the tree trunks. Volunteers combed the trails, and police dogs sniffed through the undergrowth. Every second that ticked by was an agonizing eternity for Rosa. Then 2 days later came the discovery. November 4th, 2020, the day the forest gave up its secrets. I arrived on the scene as officers stood in a tight perimeter. The look on their faces told me everything before I even saw her. Vanessa laid there, partially concealed beneath a blanket of leaves and twigs. Someone had tried to erase her, to make her disappear into the earth, but the evidence was still there. Her body bore the horrors of what had been done to her. The autopsy would later confirm what I already suspected: strangulation, sexual assault, and an attempt to set her remains on fire. I've seen crime scenes before, many in fact, but this one sat in my chest like a stone. Then there was Rosa. She collapsed when we told her, the kind of collapse where the weight of the world becomes too much to bear. No scream came, just silence, and sobs that echoed through the trees. I remember watching her clutch a photograph of Vanessa as if she could somehow bring her back by sheer force of love. I stood there feeling helpless, because in the moment, no badge, no authority, no words could ever mend the unfixable. We had a body, but no suspect, no immediate DNA matches, no witnesses. It was the kind of case that could easily slip into the abyss of unsolved mysteries, but I wasn't about to let that happen. We started from scratch. Vanessa's phone last pinged near an oak forest apartment complex, a cluster of buildings standing like concrete monoliths on the edge of the forest. Vanessa's phone last pinged near an oak forest apartment complex, a cluster of buildings standing like concrete monoliths on the edge of the forest. We checked surveillance footage, knocked on doors, interviewed residents, nothing. But then came the break. A forensic analysis of the crime scene yielded a DNA sample. It was a silent confession waiting to be read. For 4 long years, we ran comparisons. The case grew cold, but I never stopped thinking about it. Then, in late 2024, technology caught up. A match, a name. Dakota Petri, a 30-year-old man with a history of violent, aggressive, vile behavior. At the time of Vanessa's disappearance, he lived in an apartment near the forest. He had no known connection to her, just a predator lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right movement. January 18, 2025, we found him already behind bars, locked away on unrelated charges. When we confronted him with evidence, he barely reacted. Some criminals protest, beg, try to twist the truth. Not Petri. He sat there emotionless like a man who had long accepted what he was. We charged him with first-degree murder and aggravated sexual assault. The case was airtight, but justice isn't the same as healing. Rosa was relieved, but it didn't bring Vanessa back. When I spoke to her, she told me, I thought knowing his name would make it better. I thought knowing his name would make it better, but it doesn't. Nothing ever will. And she's right. The mother's grief. There's something unnatural about a mother burying her child. The world moves forward, but for Rosa, time stopped on November 2nd, 2020. She still visits Midlothian Meadows, not because she wanted to relieve that pain, but because part of Vanessa lingers there. Grief is a strange thing. It doesn't fade, it changes shape. Sometimes it's a sharp knife, other times a dull ache that never quite disappears. Midlothian Meadows looks different now, but I know the truth. Beneath the beauty, there's darkness. A reminder that evil can exist anywhere, even in the most peaceful places, even from within. Vanessa Ceja-Ramirez was more than a victim. She was a daughter, a friend, a person who should still be here. As an investigator, I've learned that justice is never enough. It doesn't bring back the dead. It doesn't erase the suffering, but it does send a message. Monsters don't get to walk free. Vanessa's story is one of loss, but it's also one of loss of a mother who never stopped fighting for answers. As long as we remember her, as long as we say her name, she is never truly gone. Thank you guys for listening and watching and hearing the brutal story of Vanessa. Cases like this never truly leaves you. They stay in the shadows of your mind, in the silent between moments. Vanessa Ceja-Ramirez was more than a headline, more than a statistic. She was a daughter, a friend, a young woman with dreams stolen too soon. Justice has been served, but the fights for answer, for closure, it lives on in the hearts of those left behind. If stories like Vanessa have taught me anything, it's this: we must remember, we must speak their names, because as long as we do, they are never truly gone. Like, share, and subscribe to help bring awareness to stories like Vanessa's. Let's keep the lights shining for those who can no longer speak for themselves.